What's good, YouTube? After countless weeks of me covering every single national championship that was held in Europe, I this weekend finally got to play one myself. I will be casting German nationals, so I wouldn't be able to play that one because doing both things at the same time is kind of tough. And therefore I decided to play Denmark nationals, which happened this weekend. 138 players. And yeah, I ended up in top 16. So I got my Nationals top for the season. Journey ended there right away by losing to Brandon, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm still going to show you what I brought to the tournament because I know you guys are very interested in it because we now have new format. There's a new format deck, and also German Nationals is right around the corner, and therefore it's even more interesting because you guys want to build your deck or finalize your deck for German Nationals. So by showing you the first card, the Live Twin Lila, you can already tell what I did bring to the tournament. It was Live Twin Runick Spright. We talked about that on stream as well. I talked about it with a couple of people. I think this is just the most solid deck you can bring into this tournament. It's the most versatile into basically anything in the meta. It has kind of a tough time versus Kashtira, but Kashtira is not that much around anymore, and therefore I wanted to bring a deck in a pretty much unsolved format that we're going into now with the list and everything. I wanted to bring a deck that's just the most consistent. And this deck can basically combo with every hand you get. It's so hard for this deck to not combo off in some way, or at least have some Runick cards to interrupt your opponent. And then also the Runick engine, of course, plays super well going second into fields. If it's not a super heavy samurai or super heavy samurai-esque negate board that you're playing into. Therefore, I felt the most comfortable with this. I did manage to make top 16, so I'm quite proud of it. And I'm going to show you the list. Of course, as most of you know, there's not too much you can do with this deck because it has a lot of engine. But let's still get into it. I will do some explanations. So it's triple Lila, double Quizzical, and one Frost. And I think I'm also immediately going to put the Sunny Snitches right next to it. So I was toying around a little bit with that. So in the beginning I ran triple Lila, triple Quizzical, and only one Sunny Snitch. I also toyed around with cutting the Quizzical Frost, but I felt like this card is too good. This card, even if you get Dark Ruler or something, just gives you an extra draw on your opponent's turn that can be really, really valuable to draw into the much needed Runick card or something. So I ultimately didn't want to cut the Quizzical Frost anymore. And then by just playing a couple of games in the new format and realizing that people were cutting out on draw, I realized that Sunny Snitch is just way better than the third Quizzical, because drawing Sunny Snitch gives you better combo with the Lila, and therefore, if there's no draw in the format, you can always just safely resolve Sunny Snitch into Lila. You rather want to have that than hard drawing the third Quizzical, and therefore I just went with the double Sunny Snitch, and let me tell you, I think I got drawed maximum one time throughout the entire tournament. I might even play triple Sunny Snitch, honestly. It might even be better at this point to just play triple Sunny Snitch, maybe then play like 2 and 2, maybe cut one Lila on top of it. I think that's actually reasonable, because just drawing Sunny Snitch is not only better because it always gives you the better twin, but also because it has the additional effect which can be valuable from time to time. Like whenever your opponent is normal or special summoning while you control an evil twin link monster, you gain 200 and they lose 200, so that can come up for sure. So I think Sunny Snitch really gets a lot better in this format where draw is a lot less relevant, and therefore I really liked it. Now going over to the Spright cards, we have triple blue, one jet, one red. And while we're at it, let me also put the spell cards in. And there we are. It's one starter, one smashers. So I think triple blue is nothing to talk about. Also, of course, we play red and carrot. This is like the super standard package. Jet is a card you could think about playing more than one off, but I think ultimately I was really happy playing only the one off because drawing it is not really that great, because you just always want to search for the blue in the combo. So if you are comboing off resolving the blue, you will always have access to Jet, so just hard drawing it is not really necessary, not really good. You also don't really want it turn 2 or 3, and therefore it's just not that great, because you don't have that many cards to search with it anyways. The one starter, I never missed playing a second one, even though sometimes it happened that we had the starter and the Jet together. And then this is a card that people usually not played in their main deck and rather only sided in those Spright Runick Live Twin Spright Runick Live Twin decks. But I decided to main deck it here because, and let me explain you why. Generally, this is a side-in going first, but I figured there's a lot of Labyrinth and also a lot of the Mirror Match now around in the upcoming format. So a lot of slower decks, a lot of more control-y decks, and therefore this card is a lot more valuable going second as well. This card actually plays decently well into fields, and therefore I liked it more than other non-engine slots such as Dark Ruler. Because, for example, Dark Ruler, I experimented with that in the main deck as well, and it never really felt that impressive, never felt that overwhelming. In the beginning I was like, yeah, Dark Ruler feels like a staple in this format in the main deck, but it really wasn't. It really didn't feel that great. Also, it's kind of nice that you have 2 targets to search for Jet. You will of course still side this out going second if you have the choice, but in the main deck I really liked it. In the main deck I decided that's a good call, and I wasn't too unhappy about the smashes. I think it was alright in the end. Then comes the Runick part, of course, triple tip, triple freezing curses, triple flashing fire, triple destruction, triple slumber. Those are the good ones. Never think about cutting them. Maybe going second from time to time in unfavorable matchups. You want to side out some of those, like a slumber is fine. You can side out like flashing fire versus flu or something, but only still one of those maximum, because the special summon effect is still too valuable. You still want to have always access to Runick cards, and therefore it's just really, really important to play a big number. And honestly, you already have seen I've already added like one more engine card for smashes to the main deck, and I also added more Runick cards. I played Smiting Storm and Dispelling as well, therefore bringing the quick spell ratio up to 17 cards. And my approach to the weekend and to the new format, at least in the early stages of it, was engine is the best non-engine that I could bring. If I don't know for certain, with like a certain mind, what I will have to face, I will just not rely on the non-engine and rather have engine as consistent as possible. And that's such a strong engine, so you really want to draw your Runick cards. And therefore, like, playing 17 of this, of course playing the double fountain as well. Never play anything other than 2. I think that's just the ratio you gotta go with. And yeah, I just played engine, because like I tested Kurikaras, I tested Dark Rulers as I said, and those cards were always like, yes, they are really good into certain matchups, into some matchups, but they are so mediocre into others, and therefore I never felt really happy about playing them. And I just upped the amount of engine cards I played, and I felt a lot better with that. And therefore I ended up with 17 Runick spells in my main deck, and of course the fountains on top of that. And now I still have some non-engine cards that I did play, and those are like some generic ones which I still felt confident enough bringing. First of all, double triple tactic talents. This is like still almost always live. Going first or going second. Going second is ridiculously good. Going first, I sometimes struggled with it because it is not that hand trap heavy of a format anymore, so you might as well not use it, but then you can still discard it for like Hagen or something, so you will not be lost with this card in your hand, and it's still like a valuable spot in the main deck, I'm pretty sure. And then this card was like the only non-engine card that really, 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 really felt worth playing and that really paid off playing. In the tournament itself, I did not resolve it that much. I think I resolved it like once only. It was really, really not that great. I drew it a lot going first too. But just in testing, I realized very quickly that almost all the decks in the format right now are really struggling against evenly matched. So it was, as it was before Cyberstorm Access format, just a no-brainer for me to put those into the main deck. And I was really, really happy about it. And I would definitely recommend you playing evenly matched in the main deck right now. Moving over to the extra deck, there's not that much spice either. We played the one Gary and the double Hagen. Sometimes it might be worth considering having another Hagen, but you don't have the extra deck space at all. Also, same thing for Moonin. You have your timeout option already, so I don't really think you can afford playing a Moonin. Of course, always Gary and Battle Phase can be kind of nice when you like try to, like, usually you have your flashing fire, you have freezing curses, and you have a lot of options to break opponents' fields, even if they have a negate. So you can go negate and then evenly if you have evenly. But even if you have none of the really good Runick spells and rather one of the mediocre ones like Smiting Storm, you just go Battle Phase, Special Summon Gary, Crash. They will have to negate the pop effect of Gary, and then you can still evenly afterwards. So Gary, definitely a card that I used a lot this weekend. One Gigantic, I honestly considered playing two Gigantic, because making this on turn 2 or 3 can be pretty cool. But there's not that many great cards you can special summon out with it anyway, so Muckraker usually is just the better Gigantic in like the grindier games, and therefore one Gigantic probably enough. I did play the Mannequin in the extra deck and not in the side deck because I felt like there's Kashtira, there's Flu in the meta, there's also Vanquish Souls now, so there are enough decks that are main decking Dimension Shifter, and therefore the Mannequin cat play can come up way more often, so I wanted to have that in the main deck for sure, or in the main extra deck. Then as I said, the Muckraker is really, really good in this deck, working along the double Lilla, double Quizzical. Never really felt like I wanted to do anything with those ratios. It comes very, very regularly up that you want to use 2 and 2 in the grindier games. Then IP Masquerena, just for the standard combo, you need to play Sprint because sadly, if you don't draw into your life turn cards in the main deck, you gotta get them in play with the Spright, Sprint, and the Gigantic. And then my Link Force. Link Force, we have, of course, the Troubled Sunny. I made it quite a bit. It's such a beautiful card. It can also out problematic cards like Dragoon. It can out... Wait, can it out Dragoon? Yeah, it can out Dragoon. I just had to double check. It can out Dragoon. It can out like some other problematic things such as Abomination in the mirror match when they summoned it off of IP Masquerena. So definitely a very valuable card. And then I played the Abomination I was just talking about and the Nightmare Griffin. I think I made Abomination more in the tournament than I made Griffin, because I played a lot more versus Backrow decks like Labyrinth and so on, and versus Labyrinth, of course, this card is so much better, just consistently popping their cards, and they don't really rely on their monster effects on the field that much anymore, and yeah, therefore I made Abomination more. Still, it's nice to have the option versus like Branded or other kind of decks to just lock them out of their monster effects, so Griffin definitely a good card for sure. Going over to the side deck, something on my journey to Denmark told me to side Nibiru. I played versus a couple of decks where it was worth siding them in. I played Sword Soul, I played Monadium. I think it's even decent versus Despia because they can only puppet lock now with their Albion. If you just clear the Albion off of their field at the end of the main phase, they might be in trouble. But overall, that card didn't really perform that well for me. I think other options would have been better, and I would probably not play it anymore going forward. Moving on, we had Triple Ash Blossom. This was superb. I played versus Branded multiple times. I sided that in generally, going second quite a bit. I think when your opponent realizes that you don't play hand traps in game 1, because I do not play any in the main deck, they will be a lot less careful game 2 and 3, and they will play into hand traps more. And when you then bring in hand traps, they can really be punished by that, so I liked siding in hand traps. Additionally, I sided in the Double Bell. Those were free in the beginning, but I wanted to make some space for other cards as well, as you will see in a second. This is, of course, like those 5 cards are also really good into Labyrinth. Labyrinth was like, generally you have a good matchup versus Furniture Labyrinth because you have like Destruction, which is a searchable amnesty, but still the deck can be so quick nowadays, and they can eradicate you like nothing, and that's really rough. So having this versus Labyrinth was really high priority for me, having additional cards to side in for that matchup. I sided in the Faberduster in that matchup as well, and in general going second into a lot of matchups, this is quite nice at the moment. And then I also I sided Called By in versus the Labyrinth decks as well, because Called By on Stovey Torby with a discard is just so brutal, and I usually can't recover from that. Also, this is good versus Branded, this is good, I said this in versus Flu and all that kind of other decks. So Called By definitely a good side going first and even going second versus a couple of decks. I did side double Dark Ruler because I did want to have them in the side deck in some way. As I said, testing on the main deck was not really that great, and even in the side deck I think they were okay-ish, but they were not really ever shining. I had the second Spright Jet to side in going first. That was okay, but I did from time to time, especially for example in my top 16 match, game 1 I just bricked on, and I bricked on my game 1 hand in top 16 was going first Jet, Blue, Carrot, Rat, Smashers. And I was there like, yep, I'm playing pure Spright now, and I have no more Spright cards in my deck, so what am I even doing here? And then I played the Chaos Hunter in the side deck additionally. Chaos Hunter is there for the Mannequin cat play if you get shifted. So going first, if you expect your opponent to play shifter, you are going to bring this in. I resolved that one time versus Flu. I played Flu in Swiss, and I drew it in my opening hand. So they did shifter me, and I did have to summon it from the hand with Mannequin Cat, so that was just awful. and it never really felt great, and they were just like, okay, yeah, let me use the shifter and the one Aglana just normal summon to get into the Empen and run over your Chaos Hunter, so that was just awful. And then the Red Resonator, I think I did that once all day, and don't really feel like it's that needed anymore. But yeah, overall, it was a really, really fun tournament. It took quite a while to get to top 16. Like, we had a lunch break and all that kind of stuff. So even though I was out in top 16, it was already like 10:30 in the evening. And then they were moving on to play top 8 from there on. Kashtira ultimately decided to take down the event. So both French nationals and Denmark nationals were taken down by Kashtira. So I think Kurikara is probably a card that we should bring back into this deck from now on, because Kashtira will probably be very, 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 very popular at German nationals, for example. But overall, I think this is a really, really solid deck. As I said, it does what it does very consistently. It plays into different matchups really, really well. I was very happy with how I performed overall. As I said, my hands in top 16 were a little bit unfortunate versus Branded, but what can you do? Maybe I was also a little tired because after all those hours, fatigue comes in a little bit, but overall I think I played quite well. I was so happy with the support from all of you guys, seriously. On Twitter, on Instagram, on the Discord, everyone was rooting for me, be like, yo, let's go Lemke, you got this, you got this. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you so much for joining me on my journey. And definitely make sure to tune in through German Nationals, where we will be casting, where we will have a good time together. I can't wait for that event to be around the corner. If you enjoy this type of content here on the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. Maybe leave a like to the video. Leave a comment to the video if you have any questions, and I will absolutely be answering those for you. And with all that being said, see you at Nationals. Thank you for watching the video. Bye bye.